So here we are, live on LinkedIn, hopefully. I'm hoping we are live on LinkedIn. If you are watching this, can you drop a comment and say hello so that we know you're here? And I'm looking on my phone like, is it showing that we're live? If we're not live,
we're just talking to ourselves.
We're just talking to ourselves. But anyway,
so good.
Shall we go with it? So, hello, everybody, if you are there. I am Amy Wilkinson. I am founder of Fearless Foodies and co-host of the O for Food's Sake podcast. I'm a leadership coach and I specialise in helping women in the food industry to get the recognition that they deserve in their careers, but to do that without completely frazzling themselves to death or their teams to death. I've worked in the food industry for the last 25 years. And it is absolutely my passion and helping. Oh, thanks, Nicola. We are live. It's my absolute passion to support women in the food industry. And I'm joined today by Nicky Foster. Hi, Nicky.
Hi, nice to see you all, or know that you're there. Yeah, I'm Nicky. I'm part of the team at Fearless Foodies with Amy. I'm also a coach, a mentor, and I lead women's empowerment programs. But prior to that, I worked for 20 years, or over 20 years, in the retail industry, the last 10 of them at Tesco. So yeah, really excited to be here. Also a passion project for me. So
So Nicky and I met a few years ago, and we've kind of always kind of thought we might work together on something, and it's never really happened, and it's happened in the last few months because we actually did another webinar about 6 weeks ago, and that was all about how women get stuck and what we can do about it, and we got a great response from that, didn't we, Nicky? We got loads of people messaging us and like opening up the conversation about how it can be difficult as a woman working in the food industry. And in doing that and having those conversations, we realised that there was a gap for something. And that something has now come to fruition as Fearless Women Connect. So Fearless Women Connect is a community that we are launching today ahead of International Women's Day. And what it is and why we wanted to do it is because we feel like as women, and Nicky, do add in because I have a tendency to just talk, and anybody else that wants to ask any questions do pop them in the chat and stuff as well, just should say that. Too many of us don't feel like we're necessarily going to get that support. We don't necessarily get the recognition that we deserve. We're not always putting our own selves first. We put our team before us. We put, everything outside of work for us. A lot of us put our pets before we put our needs ahead of all of those things. And it can feel quite lonely sometimes. You are in a place where there's, you might be the only woman, that sort of thing. And it can feel really difficult to find your place. And there are women's networks out there. We know there's networking stuff out there, but we've never felt like the one that worked for us was there, did we, Nicky?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, like in my experience in the past, when a big part of my journey has always been about having a group of women around me and supporting, whether it's a community or a part of a network, and we just had this sense of just feels like something is missing, that safe space where we can come together, and it's not stuffy and it's corporate, and it's just about being something everyone looks forward to, coming together and sharing and learning.
Yeah. And what we want to do with this space that we are creating is to give that sense of safety. And I think one of the things that I've always found really difficult is the food industry and retail is quite a small space, isn't it? Like there's a lot of everybody knows everybody. So some of those spaces that I've been in, you kind of feel like, you have to put your corporate mask on. You have to be, whatever your job title is or whatever your company is. And what we want to do is create a space where we kind of get rid of all of that. Like we come together because we get each other, we get the struggles that go on in our industry, but it isn't about what's the word I'm looking for? Like I'm thinking about, like the hierarchical, you know, come here and we're going to tell you how to be as a woman in the food industry. It's actually about coming and having honest conversation, real conversations about what's going on, and we'll strip away all the job titles and all that corporate, I'm not going to swear, BS that can go on sometimes, because I think the reality is the old boys club does still exist, and we're not going to create the same thing. We're going to create something different, which isn't about like, it's just about who you know and all of that sort of thing. We don't want it to be about that. Yeah, we can lift each other up and all of those, but actually this is about having real conversations and real connection and that sense of community. Because I don't know about you, Nicky, like I felt at times like quite lonely.
Yeah, and for many of us, you know, I often tell the story about in my first job being the, you know, only woman in a team of 17 men, and that can feel really tricky. And actually in that journey I reached out and found other women in other departments or other parts of the business that were there to celebrate those successes, and I was like, yes, I got that role, and I beat all the boys to it or whatever. And then when I was having a really tough day and I was like, this is all just too much, and I'd reach out to those women and, you know, sharing those challenges. When we bring women together in groups in the work that we do, and we're so privileged because we get to work with lots of women in food and retail, and it happens all the time, we get a group of women together and someone will say, do you know what, this might sound really silly, but, and then share something, and then the person next to them will say, yeah, that's me, I feel like that, and yeah, that's happened to me. And then all of a sudden, as a group, they've worked through that challenge, they've given each other that support, that, you know, without that judgment and without that kind of fear of you know, what people might think. And that's where the real kind of, I like saying, the magic happens, and where people really learn and are inspired from each other.
Yeah, it's that feeling of knowing that you're not alone and that it isn't stupid. And we want to create a space where it's okay to ask the stupid question, or stupid questions in inverted commas, and almost it be okay to just let that mask slip. We don't need to be corporate. We can just straight talk. We don't need to use silly language, all of that sort of stuff. So the way we're going to do it is, and we are going to evolve this with you watching, and anybody, you know, as we grow and evolve it, we will add more stuff in. But to start with, what we're going to do is we're going to have a monthly get together online, so like a lunch and learn style of getting together on Zoom, which is going to be the first Thursday of every month. So get that in your diary now, people, at 12:30, and we'll have a little bit of a kind of short conversation starter. We'll have some coaches there. I'm not going to say expert coaches, they're just like normal people like me and you. Having a bit of a conversation starter, sharing a little bit of value to start with, but then actually going away and having real conversations with people. And what is different about this to other spaces that you might have been in is having those coaches there that will hold that space to make it feel safe to share what you want to share. And also that no pressure, because sometimes you just go into those situations and you're like, oh my God, there's going to be like some awful icebreaker and I'm going to have to like reveal my soul. There'll be none of that. There'll be no pressure for those things to happen. What have I forgotten, Nicky, about it?
So just something that you look forward to, really, somewhere where we can each other up, somewhere where you can come and fill your cup and, you know, just take that hour out of your day to learn something new, meet somebody new. It's not networking in the sense of, oh, you know, go and do some strategic networking today, but we are going to talk a little bit about how you can really lean into and feel a bit more comfortable with networking and just thinking of an opportunity to get to know each other. But for me, it's all about, it's just like finding your energy and finding that safe space that you can retreat to and get that sense of belonging, because you know, that's just so important in our journeys, that we feel like we fit somewhere and we feel part of something, and that gang that you can go to think, oh, I've had a really rough week, I just want to talk to some people that get it, or I've got something really brilliant to share with everybody in the group, and you sort of look forward to that. And in some of the work that I do that I mentioned before, where we do bring in groups of women together, and they might be together on a program for 3 or 4 months. We get that, and they love being together. But what then happens is we go back to the work and busy lives and families and office. And unless you've got, one of life's great organisers that's going to kind of organise it and drive everyone to do it with best intentions, it's really tricky then to bring people together. So that's like our commitment to you, is we are going to facilitate that. We're going to hold that space, and we're going to create that space for you to come along and have that time. We know how important it has been for us and for those that we work with.
Yeah, and there's a question here for somebody about what do we hope to achieve, and I think there's definitely something about creating that sense of community and feeling like from like, this is a purely like from my personal perspective. When I set up my business 5 years ago, when I sort of took the transition from working in a marketing role in a manufacturer to going into coaching, one of the things I knew that I needed was that tribe of people around me. And it was really like, I hate the whole networking thing. And one of the things was, I am going to create, from an altruistic point of view for me, it's I'm going to create the community that I didn't have back in the day. Like I've got backstory of burnout and all of that. Like, that was partly because I felt so alone and I didn't have anybody to go to. So there's absolutely part of us that for both of us, it's about giving back that something that we didn't get before, we haven't had ourselves.
And look, we're mothers of daughters, and there's all of that in terms of wanting to, be the change that we want to see in the industry. And I often talk about, feeling like I had quite a tricky journey, quite a challenging journey. And now my passion comes from helping give back to others, really, and help them with some of the insights. I like to think I can help people go a bit further and a bit faster and a bit of an easier in journey than perhaps I had. And that idea of kind of sharing, I feel really passionate. We all remember as women growing up in the industry, those that supported us. And for me, there was a couple of women that took time out in my journey to really support me, and I wouldn't have done it without them. And I want to be that person to others, and I want to encourage others to do that and inspire others to pass it on as well. So
and it's about lifting other people up, isn't it? Because we don't want it to make it like one of those networking things where you go and everybody's doing a sales pitch and they're trying to sell their services and stuff like that. But the reality is, we do run paid programs and stuff like that, but that is not what this space is about. This is about creating something that is accessible to everybody, so that we do corporate work, and all we will probably ask in the future is if there's anything like that, you will think of us. But that is not what this space is about. This space is about us having something that is accessible to everybody in the industry, because I think both of us have that passion of and I remember right when I started Fearless Foodies, I was like, I can't fundamentally change the food industry. But what I can do is from the inside out, I can support woman by woman. And this is about doing that on a much grander scale, because I think together we can be the change that we want to see in the industry. Question about, are males allowed? Oh, this is a difficult one. It's funny because this is probably a subject that we'll talk about at some point, is that feeling of people pleaser and going, well, I want to say yes, but actually the answer is no. And the reason the answer is no is because we want this to feel like a place that is safe for women to talk about absolutely anything and everything. And there's lots of other spaces out there that are for everybody. So this is for people that identify as women in the food industry.
And we know in our experience the best results come from having a group of women where we get that sense of psychological safety, and people do feel like they're not going to be judged, and whether that's conscious or maybe it's subconsciously, but we see women open up in a space in a different way. So maybe that's one for the future, but for now it's just girls allowed, I'm afraid. And we will obviously want male allies a lot along the way, but in terms of this space, it's just to create that feeling of safety. It will be for people that identify as women. So if that sounds good to you, if anybody's got any other questions, do pop them in the chat. Because what do we need to do, Amy? What do we need to do?
So there's a QR code on the screen. So if you're watching on a laptop or whatever, you can QR code it. If not, I will. Oh, we've got a question. You can read that in a minute, Nikki. The website address to sign up is going on the bottom. So it is fearlessfoodies.co.uk, and then it's fearless-women-connect. So go and join up via that link. You will get an email, and then that means that every month you will get the link to come and join the live sessions. There is also a LinkedIn group, and I will put all of these groups in the chat in a minute when Nikki's reading out Debbie's comment. Join the LinkedIn group. And the other thing I would say is share this with your friends, your colleagues, your women's networks within your business, because we want this to go as far and wide as possible. So you tell me what what Debbie said, and I'll put those links in.
So a question, and it's really topical actually, because I just read a study about this yesterday, and it's just about the pay gap, isn't it, between men and women in similar roles in the industry. And actually the study I read only yesterday was that unfortunately the gap is widened again, and we're one of the countries in the world, firstly we're one of the worst for it, and we're one of the countries in the world where the gap is increased, which is really disappointing. And I guess at the heart of everything we do, it's about helping women feel at their best. It's about helping them have the confidence to go and have those conversations. And only Amy and I were talking the other day, well, I can't remember the context of the conversation, we were talking about pay reviews and how, you know, men might approach their end of year review versus how women might approach it. And we had the conversation to say that, you know, we as women, we might have got some pay increases over the years as we were kind of growing up in our roles, but we never actually asked for one, because it doesn't come naturally to the way we're not brought up as young girls to kind of ask in the way, and ask for help and ask for support in the way that the boys are. So lots of the thinking and the work that we do does stem from the fact, the way that we are, you know, conditioned and brought up as girls, and it trains us into, you know, get your head down, work hard, don't ask for help kind of thing. So this group is all about empowering women to know themselves, be able to articulate their strengths and their goals, to give them the courage and the support that they need to go and have those difficult conversations. And I'm not saying that by doing that you're going to, you know, change it overnight and suddenly women are going to get paid the same as men, but we can only start with ourselves and that one person, can't we? And we can only start with how am I going to face into that for me, and we're going to try and on that journey just help you know yourself, be the best version of yourself, give you all the tools and support so that you can do the best you can.
Yeah, and that's and this is how we want to grow this community, is like have these conversations. What are the things that you find specifically difficult, and then we can get in people to help, you know, facilitate and help you to think about how you can make those changes yourself, because that's the thing. I think we can often think on like a, you know, the system needs to change, and it absolutely needs to change, and it's a big passion of mine that, you know, that needs to change. But it actually changes, you know, top down as well, but from the bottom up, you know, as what is within our gift as individuals to do. And sometimes it's having those tough, difficult conversations. So we did talk about, you know, doing a session that's specifically around like how to have the difficult conversation of saying you want more money or you want, you know, whatever the thing is that's difficult for you.
And on a bigger level, we also know that it is women that support other women thrive in the workplace. So we do need more women leaders in the future, because at the moment there still isn't enough. It's still like only 1 in 10 CEOs in the UK is a woman. So we do need the next generation of women leaders to go and make a difference for those future generations. I've just seen in one of the comments about the fact that, you know, the gender pay gap won't close for 5 generations. So our hope is that by supporting more women on their journeys now, they will become women leaders and inspirations themselves in the future that will then create the conditions for other women to thrive and grow as well. So, you know, it's that look to the future as well, and being the change that we want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So still cultural resistance to female leadership in more traditional food businesses. Absolutely, Debbie. And that's, you know, that's something, and this is where this has come from for me and Nikki. You know, we have a lot of private one-to-one conversations with women in the industry. We know that you know, and I was at a forum the other week, and I was talking about, you know, I think there can be quite a lot of greenwashing is not the right word. It's like D&I washing, you know, like saying, oh, we've got these initiatives, this is this is happening, but we know at grassroots level that there are still those biases, there are still those difficulties that we come up against. They don't get talked about that much, and we want to create a space where you can talk about the difficult stuff and it be safe to do that, and it not be career limiting, because I think we've all been in situations where there's things where we've walked away and we wish we'd called it out, but we haven't felt like we could in that moment because of the potential implications. So actually by creating, you know, a safe place, a community, that we create some confidentiality around it as much as we possibly can. So there was a safe place to talk about that stuff and how you handle that situation where there is that resistance to having women in a leadership role.
And when you are facing a situation of bias or culture, then having that community, that people that get it and people you can come home to is just so important in giving you that support. I've got a lovely example at the moment with my daughter, who is 9, and she's, you know, recently got into football and wanted to play football, and at school there's only a few girls that want to play, and they've been having a bit of a tough time by some of the boys. And then more recently, as she's found her way into communities of women that play football, and I actually was really amazing the last week I posted something on LinkedIn about going to take her to see the under 23 Lionesses, which she adored, and it was just a stadium full of these, you know, other girls like her, and this massive sense of belonging and feeling part of something. And it's not just me, Mum, there's all these other girls that want to play, which is amazing. And I got messages from the FA, from the coaches, offering support and offering for her to go and meet players, and it's just totally lifted her and inspired her. And she's kind of, yes, there's a bit about resilience, and there's a bit about her, you know, demanding more, and telling her the friends that are boys that have not let her play that's not right, and telling the boys that have let her play, well, you've got to stand up to those other boys that aren't letting you play, and you've got to, you know, support as well. So again, it comes back to that support of feeling like you belong somewhere and you're part of something, which has been really inspiring. And then thinking collectively, okay, about how we face into that, because that bias is going to exist, and we can only start with ourselves, can't we, and start in terms of how we face into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you everybody for joining us here. Like I say, so there's the QR code if you're watching this on replay, because this will upload onto LinkedIn and it will be there forever. Do give us a hashtag replay, let us know that you've been here, but do join up via that link. I think I've managed to put the there's another comment that come through, but I'm conscious of time, I don't want to hold everybody up for ages. The LinkedIn group I will post in afterwards as well, but if you sign up via that link, all of those links will be sent to you on email, so you can go and join everywhere. But join up via the link, join the LinkedIn group, let's start having the conversation about what it is that you want to do. Get the 3rd of April at 12:30 in your diary, because that's going to be our next session, and we're going to talk about the power of building your network and easy ways to do that without it feeling like horrible networking. And tell your friends and colleagues, because we would absolutely love to see this blow up and get as many women involved as we can. Any other comments that we've got and stuff will come and we will answer them. We'll type you messages back on LinkedIn, but I'm really conscious that we didn't want to take up too much of people's time, but we really wanted to come and say hello and tell you why we're doing what we're doing, you know, why this is our passion, why we think it can make a real difference in the industry, and we would love you to get involved. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you, Nicky.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
And we will see you soon.